under percents, ladies and gentlemen, the little subheading under percents is simply finding percents, and here's the big word here, of a number. The key word there again, let me stress, is the word of a number. And I can tell you I have this same discussion with 7th graders and 8th graders alike, in that the word of, children, Andrew, you close the door, please. The word of in math, 95% of the time means to multiply. It means to multiply. Okay, you will not, when you deal with percents, it is an incredibly rare occasion that you will ever divide by a percent. As a matter of fact, for all intents and purposes, never think about that. And times when we use percent in the real world, for instance, if you ever go to a restaurant besides McDonald's, you sit down and eat, and somebody serves you, you give them a tip. You are supposed to tip a percentage of the bill of your meal. Usually if your server is fantastic, you give them 20%. If it's not very good service, you might give them 10%. But to find out how much you pay the server, you will multiply. You will never divide that by a figure. For example, let's do one of those. Let's say you go out and your family go out and you spend, let's say it's $50 for your food, which is for 5 or 6 people is probably not much, or 4 people, or whatever. Okay, and the server was really good. Okay, so you want to, there's your bill of $50. To that you have to add the tip. To find the tip, you want to find out what 20% of $50 is, because that's how much the tip will be. 20% of $50. Okay? Here's where things get a little snarky on that. Okay? Well, we know of means to multiply, so I need to find 20% times $50. Here is the second thing with percents. Never, ever, ever do we do operations, add, subtract, multiply, or divide, with percents. You must either make the percent, you have to make the percent a fraction, or you have to make it a decimal. It is your choice, unless the book tells you. I need to change this into its fraction form or into its decimal form. And that's kind of your call. What does percent mean? Percent means out of 100. So as a fraction, it's 20 over 100 times 50. Or as a decimal, how do you write 21/100ths? 0.20 times 50. Either one of these will work to find your answer. I'm not sure which one you would pick to use. I suppose let's go with this one. By the way, you could knock off the 0 and just say it's 0.2 times 50. 50 times 0.2. 2 times 50 is 100. You move the decimal back one place. $10 would be your tip. So on top of your $50 bill, your tip is going to be $10, and you paid them $60, where your waitress gets $10 because of her great service for you. The other place you pay percentages, and I guarantee you've done this yourself numerous times, unless you live under a rock somewhere. When you go to the store, you go to the store and you buy that whatever pair of sneakers and I don't know what your sneakers cost, let's say they're $60. You know, your pair of shoes cost $60. If your shoes cost $60 and you walk up to the cash register, the lady that charges you that, and you only have $60, you will not get to buy those shoes because no matter what, no matter where you go, you always have to pay tax. And those taxes go to pay for whatever, your roads, police department, fire departments, libraries, you know, anything, it's all the services that you've come to grow and know and love and respect in this world. It comes through those taxes. And again, that is a certain percentage, here's the key word, it is a percentage of your bill. See that word of? You are timesing something, you're multiplying. Here in the good old city of Yorkville, I'll just round it to you, we pay 8% tax. So actually almost, it's closer to 9, but I don't want to give you fractions and decimals. So that means 8 cents out of every dollar, 8 out of 100 cents you have to pay in tax. So your $60 bill, you have to multiply that by 8%. And again, we don't do percents when it comes to operations, so you either need to change it to a fraction or a decimal. Let's go fraction just because for this one. You need to multiply 60 times 8 over 100. Have we done this before? Have we done whole numbers times fractions?
I don't think so.
Alright, well let's change 8%.
Yeah.
Multiply across, 60 times 8 is 480. What is 480 divided by 100? Well, what if we reduce it first? What can I divide both of these by? 10, right? I get 48 over 10. How many times does 10 go into 48? Oh, what is it? 4. We're in dollars and cents here. You pay $4.80 in tax for your $60 pair of shoes. So the lady at the cash register is going to charge you $64.80, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're buying yourself a $50,000 car, which is not unreasonable for a car, if you want to find the tax on $50,000, let's multiply that by the decimal. 8% is 0.08800. You end up paying 0.00040, 2 decimal places. For a $50,000 car, you're going to pay $4,000 in tax.
Wow. Just pay tax. Tax is just so cool.
That's how you get all the stuff that you need there. So the things they're going to ask you, and some of the nice things they're going to ask you are this. Well, they're going to ask you, they're going to have you change percents into both decimals and fractions. Just know to change 75% into a fraction, it's 75 100ths, which is, divide them both by 25 3/4. To change 75% to a decimal, what is 75% as a decimal? Which is 0.75. You just move the decimal in 75 backwards 2 places and you change it to a decimal. If it was 8% as a decimal, if I move it back 2 places, it's 0.08. If it's 80% as a decimal, 2 places, it's 0.8. People get those mixed up a lot. What's 1% as a decimal? 0.01. 0.1 is 10%. 1% is 0.01. Okay? And really, here's the nice thing about finding percents of money, is that if you're just finding 10% of a number, 10% of 20. If you're finding 10% of like $20 or whatever it is, if you're 10% just means 1/10 of, which just means you're dividing by 10, which just means you move the decimal back 1 place. you're finding 1/10 of, you're dividing by 10, you just, 10% of $20 is $2. 10% of $80 is $8, or 10% of 80 is 8. 20%, ladies and gentlemen, of 80, well, if 10% is 8, 20%, which is twice as much, is 16. Or what is 2 times 8? 16. 30% of 50. You know you're going to multiply the 3 times the 5, so your choices are, is it going to be 15? Is it going to be 150? Is it going to be 1.5? Is it going to be 1,500? What would make more sense? 15. It's just a percent of. And we've done fractions before, so you can easily, you get to pick, estimate the tax. Look at page 219, just for fun. Sure. And look at problem letter P. P as in Paul. P as in problem of. Problem letter P. It says the sales tax rate is 9.5%. Estimate the tax on $9.98. So you're buying something for $9.98, and the tax is 9.5%. If you're estimating that, what would you do? You make this $10, and instead of 9.5%, I would make it 10%. And what is 10% of $10? Now, a good way to think about it is this. 10% means you pay just 1/10 of it in tax, or divide it by 10. What is 10 divided by 10? $1. Which is a good way if you go to a restaurant. Let's say your bill is $15, and you're paying a 20% tip. Well, you just find out what 10% is and double it. What's 10% of $15? Buck and a half. Just move the decimal back. So what's 20% of $15? $3. 30% of 15? $4.50. 40% of 15? 50%? 7? I have no idea what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I ran out there. All right. So your assignment.